The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change recently concluded that human-induced climate change is already affecting many weather and climate extremes in every region across the globe. Evidence of observed changes in extremes such as heat waves, heavy precipitation, droughts, and tropical cyclones, and in particular their attribution to human influence, have strengthened significantly since their last report in 2014. These historical issues talk about the overlap of natural and human histories and the failure of systematically seeing them as separate. Today, as we move beyond that idea, we recognize the ways in which our energy-dependent societies, governments, and institutions are interlinked with the well-being of ecosystems and human communities.
As students, we think of paths forward and turn to the institutions that we are a part of, to the institutions that educate us, and build the future through new thinking and a new workforce. How is the UC system facing one of the most important issues of our time?
So for the McNair Scholars Program, I am interviewing UC administrators from across the entire system to really learn administrators' thoughts on the climate change, on UC emission policies, are we doing enough, are we moving fast enough? And the good news is administrators all believe climate change is real. The bad news is the pace at that they're moving, or that they think that they're moving, that they think they're doing a good job, that they think they're doing enough. One administrator actually told me, they're like, we don't know what's going to happen in 1,000 years in regards to climate change. And I was just like, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in 1,000 years, but we already see what's happening now. And so it's really, I'm hearing there's a lack of urgency from UC administrators. That was just one thing I've heard. And they're really hesitant to condemn themselves. It's just so ridiculous that Scripps is the one that's doing the research on climate change, and that's the one that's ringing the bell oh, y'all, we need to be worried about this. And yet UC San Diego is decarbonization, what's that? Y'all own scientists are ringing the alarm and things, and y'all aren't doing nothing. And so it's just you, not only would it set the standard, but it's you have to. If the ones doing the research aren't alarmed appropriately, then what's the point of doing the research?
So in 2013, UC announced the Carbon Neutrality Initiative, where it would commit the university to carbon neutrality in 2025. And the language here is super important. They commit to carbon neutrality, not to being carbon free. Carbon free would mean that the university stops burning fossil fuels. It means you stop importing methane to burn to make electricity and for heating and cooling. And that's really the dominant thing that contributes to the university's carbon emissions. But that's what carbon free would mean. You just stop burning carbon. Carbon neutral means that we mainly continue, as usual, burning methane gas, but we buy these carbon offsets to atone for it. And so this has actually already begun on at least 2 campuses. They started buying carbon offsets. One of them is UC Merced, which recently announced that they had gone carbon neutral by having purchased these offsets. And so we asked them, what carbon offsets did you buy? And they refused to tell us. And to me,